She screamed before I could even step out of my truck. "You can't park here, this is private property." Her voice echoed through the pine trees like a siren. I looked at her, perfectly pressed polo, clipboard in hand, like she was about to inspect Heaven's Gate. "Ma'am," I said calmly, "this isn't HOA land, this cabin is mine now." She blinked fast, confusion flickering across her face, then pointed at the old wooden porch like it was a crime scene. "That cabin belongs to the HOA perimeter. You're trespassing." I didn't answer right away. The smell of old pine and fresh paint hung in the air. I'd bought this forgotten cabin at an auction last month, a quiet place to rebuild my life after leaving the city. The paperwork was sitting in my glove compartment, but I wanted to see how far she'd go before I showed it. "Trespassing?" I asked. "You sure about that?" Her nostrils flared. "Don't play smart. I'm the community head, and nothing happens here without my permission." She marched closer, snapping pictures with her phone like she was building a case. I noticed a small gold badge hanging from her neck, not real, but official-looking enough to fool someone. "You have 10 minutes to leave before I call the cops," she said. I gave a slow smile. "Go ahead." Her eyes widened, like she wasn't used to people standing up to her. Then she spun around and stormed off, muttering, "You'll regret this. You'll regret ever stepping foot here." As she disappeared down the dirt road, I leaned against my truck and exhaled. I knew people like her, ones who thrived on control, rules, and fear, but she'd picked the wrong man this time, because unlike what she thought, I wasn't just some stranger moving into her territory. I had a reason to be here, and something told me this wouldn't be her last visit. The next morning, I woke to the sound of car engines and voices outside. When I stepped onto the porch with my coffee mug, I froze. Karen was back, this time with 2 men wearing security uniforms that didn't look quite right. No badges, no name tags, just plain black shirts and radios clipped to their belts. "There he is," she shouted, pointing at me like I was a fugitive. "That's the trespasser, arrest him." The taller officer stepped forward. "Sir, this area is restricted. You need to vacate immediately." I tilted my head. "Restricted? This cabin? On County Road 47, outside the HOA line. You sure you're in the right place?" Karen crossed her arms. "Don't try to sound smart. The HOA extends up to the ridge that includes this land." I set my mug down slowly. "You might want to check your map before giving orders." One of the fake cops moved toward my truck. "We'll impound this vehicle if you don't comply." I almost laughed. "You guys got a warrant for that?" They didn't answer. The shorter one looked uneasy, glancing at Karen for direction. She snapped, "Do it. Show him we mean business." That's when I decided to end their little performance. I opened the truck door, pulled out a folder, and flipped it open. "Here, the county deed," I said, holding it up. "Signed, sealed, and recorded 3 weeks ago. You see that line? That's your HOA border half a mile south." Karen's confident smirk faltered. That can't be right." The taller fake cop leaned in to look at the papers, then stepped back, whispering something to her. Her fists clenched, her face red as fire. "This isn't over," she hissed. "You can't just buy land here and think you're above the rules." I looked her straight in the eyes. "Lady, I'm not above the rules, I just actually know them." As they left, I noticed one of their cars didn't even have a license plate. That's when it clicked. These weren't real cops. And if Karen was desperate enough to hire fake ones, something bigger was coming. That night the woods felt too quiet. Even the crickets had gone silent. I sat by the fireplace checking the locks when I noticed headlights flash through the window. Someone was outside. Karen's SUV sat at the edge of my driveway, engine still running. She was packing, phone in hand, talking like she was ready for battle. I stayed hidden behind a tree and listened. "Yes, I want him out tonight," she hissed into the phone. "He's squatting on HOA property. Do whatever you need, just make it look legal." A chill ran down my spine. She was trying to frame me. I stepped closer, but a dry leaf cracked beneath my boot. She spun around, her flashlight landing on me. "What are you doing sneaking around?" she snapped. I stepped into the beam. "I could ask you the same thing." "You're trespassing now," she scoffed. "Don't play games with me," she said. "I called the county this morning. They said no one bought this land." "That's funny," I replied, pulling out my phone and opening an email. "Because this," I held up the screen, "says otherwise." It was the official county confirmation, with my name and date of transfer. Her expression shifted, panic, fear, then anger. "You forged that, I'll prove it," she screamed. Before I could answer, another car pulled up, a black sedan with tinted windows. A man stepped out wearing a suit. He looked official, too official for this midnight drama. "Ma'am," he said firmly, "step away from his property." Karen froze. "Who are you?" The man flashed a badge. "County Attorney's Office. We've received complaints about HOA overreach in this area." I didn't say a word. She just stared, speechless for once. Then she whispered, You called them." I smiled faintly. Didn't have to. Turns out the county been watching this neighborhood for a while. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't dare argue. As the attorney walked toward her, I knew this was just the beginning. Karen wasn't the type to back off. She was the type to strike harder when cornered. 2 days later, the storm hit, both the real one and the one named Karen. Rain hammered the cabin roof as I sealed the windows, trying to keep the water out. Then I heard the sound of engines, several this time. I peeked outside and saw 3 pickup trucks parked near my gate. Karen stood in the mud, shouting orders to a group of men in work vests. "We are removing this illegal structure," she yelled. "It violates HOA boundary codes." I stepped out into the downpour, water soaking my boots instantly. "You're insane, Karen. This isn't your jurisdiction." She smirked, waving a paper in her hand. "Oh, but it is. We filed a motion with the county to reclaim this land. It was abandoned property, taken fraudulently. Your little auction is invalid." Her crew started pulling out chains and tools, ready to tear down my fence. "You touch that gate, and you're committing a crime," I warned. One man hesitated, but Karen barked, "Do it. I'll handle the legal side." I lifted my phone and hit record. "Perfect. Keep going. I'll need this footage." Her smirk faded. "You think a video will save you?" Just then, a loud siren cut through the thunder. 2 real sheriff cars rolled up, red and blue lights flashing through the rain. Karen's men froze. She turned around, her confidence draining fast. One of the deputies stepped out. "Ma'am, we've had multiple reports of unauthorized demolition here. Care to explain?" Karen tried to sound calm. "This man's trespassing. This cabin belongs to the HOA." The deputy raised a brow. "Funny, county records show this property, owned by," he glanced down at his tablet, "Mr. Daniel Hayes, that you?" I nodded, showing my ID. "Then I suggest everyone else step off his land," the deputy said firmly. Karen's voice cracked. "You can't, this is a mistake." He took the paper from her hand, looked it over, and smirked. "This isn't a court order, ma'am. It's a photocopy of your HOA rule book." Her face went pale. As her workers backed away, I caught her glaring at me through the rain, trembling with fury. She whispered, "You'll regret this." And for the first time, I realized this wasn't just about power. There was something personal behind her rage. That night, the rain stopped, but the air stayed thick with tension. I couldn't sleep. Karen's words echoed in my head, "You'll regret this." Around midnight, I noticed a dim light flickering near the back fence. I grabbed my flashlight and stepped outside quietly. When I got closer, I saw someone digging near the tree line. It was Karen. "Working late, are we?" I called out, my voice cutting through the dark. She gasped and spun around, dirt on her hands, eyes wild. "You shouldn't be here." I stepped closer, shining the light on the ground. There was an old metal box, half buried in mud. "What's that?" I asked. "None of your business," she snapped, trying to cover it with her foot, but it was too late. The lid had popped open just enough for me to see the papers inside. Property records, old ones, some with her name scratched out and rewritten, others marked void. I looked up slowly. You forged deeds, didn't you? She froze, eyes darting around like a trapped animal. You don't understand, she stammered. This land was supposed to be mine. My husband built that cabin before he died. The HOA took it from me. For a second, her voice cracked, but only for a second. Then her mask snapped back on. So if I can't have it, no one will. She lunged for the box, but I grabbed it first. This is over, Karen. Whatever you did here, the county's going to find out. Her face twisted. You think they'll believe you over me? I've run this community for 12 years. I met her eyes. Then I guess 12 years is long enough. I started walking back toward the cabin with the box under my arm. Behind me, her voice echoed through the dark. You'll destroy everything. I didn't look back, because I already knew, the moment I opened that box, everything she'd built on lies was about to collapse. The next morning, I drove straight to the county office, the rusted metal box riding shotgun. The sun had barely risen, but I wanted this finished before Karen could spin another story. The clerk at the counter looked up. Back again, Mr. Hayes. Yeah, I said, setting the muddy box on her desk. I think you'll want to see this. We opened it together. Inside were dozens of altered deeds, forged signatures, fake HOA claims, some dated back 10 years. A few even had counterfeit county seals. The clerk's eyes widened. These are forgeries. Whoever did this has been stealing land. Before I could reply, a familiar voice spoke behind me. We've been waiting for proof like this. It was the county attorney. He nodded at the documents. Karen's been under investigation for property fraud. You just gave us what we needed. It felt good for a moment, then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, and her voice hissed through the line. You think you've won? Check your cabin. My stomach dropped. I jumped into my truck and sped down the mountain road. Smoke thickened as I got closer. When I turned the corner, my heart sank. My cabin was burning. Flames roared through the roof, black smoke curling into the sky. No, I shouted, running forward, but the heat forced me back. Sheriff trucks arrived minutes later, sirens wailing. The deputy from before grabbed my shoulder. She did this, he asked. She called me, I said through clenched teeth. She wanted me to see it burn. His jaw tightened. We'll find her. As firefighters battled the flames, I stood in the rain-soaked mud, watching everything I'd built turn to ash. But even through the smoke, I made myself a promise. If she wanted a war, she just started one. By sunrise, the fire was out, but the cabin was gone. Only blackened beams remained, smoke curling into the cold morning air. I stood there holding the one thing that survived, the metal box of evidence. The sheriff walked over, boots crunching on wet gravel. We found tire tracks heading toward Highway 6, he said. She didn't get far, we're tracking her. I nodded silently. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was done being the victim. A few hours later, I met the county attorney at the courthouse. We've issued a warrant, he said. She'll be arrested for arson, forgery, and fraud, but we also found something else. He opened a file with my property name on it, letters written by Karen, complaints, false claims, even threats, but one line stood out. If the county sells that cabin, I'll take it back by any means necessary. I stared at the paper, then looked up. She planned this for years. He nodded, and she nearly got away with it. You stopped her just in time. That evening, as I drove toward what was left of the cabin, I saw flashing lights ahead. 2 sheriff cruisers were parked on the roadside. Karen stood there in handcuffs, her once perfect hair tangled and wet. She looked up as I pulled over. You think you won? She spat, her voice trembling. That land will haunt you. It's cursed with everything they took from me. I walked closer, rain dripping from my jacket. No, Karen, it's cursed with everything you did to people like me. Her eyes burned with hatred. You ruined my life. I held her gaze. You burned your own. The deputies guided her into the back of the cruiser. For the first time since I'd arrived, the air around the cabin felt quiet, heavy, but peaceful. As the car drove away, I turned toward the ashes of what used to be my home. It hurt to see it gone, but deep down, I knew this wasn't the end. Because inside that metal box were more names, more victims. Karen wasn't the only one involved. And if I was going to rebuild, I wasn't just rebuilding a cabin. I was rebuilding justice.